Hey guys, so I'm gonna call this video my entanglement with a gay butcher. It's gonna be a little bit spicy, so fair warning, but give me a like while the intro plays. I told you this was gonna be tough, but okay, so I'm gonna try to go into this real fast. This video was inspired by a game that I played with my coworkers on Friday, and it's actually called One Ups, and I invented this game. And pretty much what it is that I'll save it. It's a boring intro, but you're asking a question, and the goal is for everyone to one up each other, and whoever has the craziest, oddest answer to this question wins. So the question, and I won, which I was not expecting to, which was I slept with a blank, and you could answer it however you wanted to. So my answer to that was, off the top of my head, thinking of my stories, I slept with a butcher. So didn't think I was gonna win with that. I think it was because of the story. So I figured, why not share it with everyone else? So here's the story about me and the gay butcher. I mentioned this before, but when I was in the military, we would go to Fallon, Nevada on temporary detachments, 2 to 3 weeks. And on the weekends, we had the shuttle that would take us into Reno. A quick sidebar story. Ever since I was a kid and I was learning about geography in school, there were certain cities in the US that kind of stood out to me for one reason or another. Jacksonville, Florida, and I just so happened to be stationed there for 2 years. Scottsdale, Arizona, I lived there for 3.5 years. Billings, Montana, which I've never been to, but just in case if it ever happens, you heard it here. And Reno, Nevada was another one. And so I just moved from Fernley, which is a suburb of Reno. So yeah, I don't know if that's cosmic, the universe, maybe just me leaning into these cities. I mentioned that because on my first trip to Reno, and again, the way that it would work is the shuttle would take us to, it was either Harrah's or Caesars, I'm not sure which casino, and the deal was, okay, you guys have 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever it was. Go out, have a blast, and we'll meet back here and go back to the base. Cool. Most of the people stayed in the casino and would just gamble and drink and have a good time there. And I would begin that way. But at a certain point, after a certain number of drinks, I would say, think, okay, I want to break free. Okay, I need to live my best gay life. And so day one, I walked around middle of the night in the city that I had never been to, but for some reason, I felt the sense of like I'd been there before. I was familiar with this city. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And night one, I ended up finding this gay bar on this side street. Again, just walking around. This is before the internet, before cell phones, any of that stuff. This is just me walking and coming across this gay bar. Seriously. So I go into this bar. Now, I had been in gay bars before, and a lot of the dudes that you would see were like certain types of gay dudes. Reno completely changed my world because there were so many guys there that were unlike gay guys I had seen anywhere else, like wearing the flannel shirts and the Levi 501s, and there'd be cowboys there wearing the hats, and just that whole kind of Americana country vibe, which I'm a fan of. I have a thing for that. So for me, I was like, this is wow. But at the same time thinking, they weren't used to seeing someone kind of like me, like that inner city kid. So I got to meet a bunch of folks here, like the gay ranchers. Like I met, it was like super. I thought this is awesome, a new world for me to explore. And so this one night, I go off to the gay bar. It's a slow night this night, but this one dude comes in, and the thing is, what really struck me off the bat is that he didn't look like the other guys that I was used to seeing there. Like he was very clean cut, like the blonde hair and the blue eyes, and like he had like dress shoes on and dress pants and a long sleeve button up shirt. Just not what the norm was. And so he and I, we're at the bar, we began talking, and he tells me that he's a butcher. And I was like, butcher? And he's like, yeah, and he goes into the whole thing. You know, of course, I'm telling him about me in the military. He was interested in that. I'm interested in a butcher, a gay butcher. Like, who does that? And so, I remember at one point he said like, yeah, you know, because I was like, so how do you, that smell of a butcher? He's like, well, you know, it kind of stays with you. Like if you work there every day, it's hard to get that scent out. He's like, you can smell me if you want. And so I was like, yeah. So I kind of leaned in and smelled, and sure enough, like, he smelled like cold cuts, which I'm a fan of.
All these will suck your meat.
I like the meats. So yeah, that was like cologne to me. I smelled cold cuts. I'm like, yum. So the one thing that was super odd with him is that at one point, the song comes on, we get out there and dance, and I notice that he's like dancing. And we go up to each other, and it's like becomes this like, okay, he was, not only was he a gay butcher, but he was a ballroom dancer, Latin dances. And so that's kind of like what it was. We kind of morphed into dancing salsa, but he's dancing this ballroom version of salsa, which I had never done before, but I'm learning, and we kind of end up doing this ballroom dance. And I'm thinking like, whoa, what? Reno butcher ballroom dance? Like, it was just...
He is the most interesting man in the world. I don't always drink beer.
It was Dos Equis, dude, for me. But yeah, super intrigued by him. And but at this point in the night, it's getting to where like, oh shoot, I have to go. Shuttle's gonna take me back to the base. So it's like quick plans. Okay, let's meet here next weekend. You know, we're trying to solidify plans for next weekend. Cool. I run over, go back to the casino. Everyone's out there. But this night, my supervisor was kind of like leading the whole shuttle thing. He's like, hey, you guys, I'm not ready to go back. Is anyone ready? We're all like, no, we were having so much fun. She's like, okay, whatever it was. Okay, go back. We'll meet back in 2-3 hours, whatever it was. Sweet. So I run back to the bar. There he is. We continue having this great time. And okay, this is the embarrassing part of this story for me. So, you know, at this point in my life, trying to be an upstanding citizen of the gay community and just do things right, not be like that little hoe dude. But at one point, I was like, okay, I have to go use the bathroom. Cool. Go into one of the stalls, use the bathroom. When I opened the door, he's standing there in front of me. And it was like no words, no nothing. He just like walks into the stall, closes it, and then he's pushing me against the wall, I'm pushing him against the wall. Like, it is this very like just like passionate, crazy, exciting, wonderful moment. And you know, it just begins with the kissing and the feelsies and all that stuff, but then we start doing stuff. And I completely, like, this was not something like, if you asked me before that moment, would I ever do something like that? I'm like, oh no, that's so gross. But here I was in this moment and not thinking it was gross at all. Like, I totally got lost in the moment. And what snapped me out was this knock on the stall door from the bartender. Again, this was a slow night. And I guess we'd been in there for a minute, and so he said, hey, you guys can't be doing that in there.
No, my bad, I'm sorry. My bad.
Ooh, I was so red, I was so embarrassed, but yeah, so we kind of like, oh, pull off our zippers and go back. And so at that point, it was time to, you know, for me to leave again. So that was the final, see you next weekend, cool. But that entire week, man, like that night just kept floating in my brain. Like I kept thinking, like, I can't believe that I did that. Like I got caught by the bartender. Like how, again, I would have judged myself for doing that, but having experienced it, it was exciting, and there was a part of me that wasn't embarrassed, you know, even though I should have been, but I really wasn't, and thinking like I would do it again, you know, like it was just so hot. It was hot. And so because of that, because I had this extremely hot moment with this butcher, I couldn't wait to see him again. But at the same time, I was thinking, man, I want to be like, maybe I shouldn't just be, this is the stage in my life I was like, okay, Mikey, like too many notches on the belt. Maybe you should try to not do this. So I was thinking of that. How did that end up? Well, I decided, okay, I'm gonna take my best friend with me, female, straight, and so she, you know, she'd never been to a gay bar. So I'm like, hey, come with me here, we'll have a blast. So, you know, I remember saying to her, like, do not let me do anything crazy. Like, she's like, okay, we get into the bar, he's there, the three of us are talking. At a certain point, this woman comes in, sits at the bar, she engages with us, and it turns out she's a pilot. I believe with the Air Force. I'm not sure what she was doing in Reno, but she was an Air Force pilot. And the way that it happens, I remember she had wings on her, whatever shirt she was wearing, she had like the pilot wings. At a certain point, we break off to where my friend's talking to her, I'm talking to this dude, right? And he's really like, kind of forward and kind of, you know, as far as like he kept, we're facing each other talking, and he kept like putting his hands on my thighs and just, you know, just kind of, he kept touching me and wanting to, and pulling me in close to him. And not like in a freaky way, like it was in a way where I was just kind of like, oh my God, but at the same time thinking like, oh man, I don't know if I want, you know, I'm trying to be good. And I remember, like, cause I'm thinking like, man, my friend is like totally, I think she might be freaked out talking to this girl. So at one point I kind of like pull her to the side. I'm like, are you good? She's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, okay. I said, no, but again, you know, she's like, I said, we had several drinks by this point. So I said, don't let me do anything wrong. She's like, you're a grown man. And I was like, oh, really? She goes, yeah. She's like, I can't tell you to do not to do anything wrong when I'm about to do something wrong. I was like, really? You and her? And she's like, oh, I never wanted to, but something about her is just making me want to. I was like, awesome. But at the same time, like, shoot. So this girl, again, this was the only bar that I'd gone to in Reno. So she goes, oh, hey, there's this like club. It's like not too far away. I can drive all of us over there, and they have this big dance floor with like house, you know, dance music, and we should all go over there. Cool. So the four of us, we head off to this club, and it was this amazing, like modern, compared, you know, what I was used to in Reno, modern club with lights and all this stuff. And we have a blast. We're drinking, dancing, partying. We have such a great time. And at this point, it's time for us to go back to the shuttle. So as me and my friend, we're driving, you know, she drops us off in front of the casino. We're going to where the shuttle is at, and she's like, hey, she invited me to stay with her. And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah. She goes, I think I'm gonna do it. And I was like, wow. She goes, what about you? And I never gave this dude a name. Since he was a butcher, we'll call him Sam the butcher. So she goes, what about you and Sam? I'm like, I would never think of asking him that. So she's like, I'll be back. So she runs back to the car. She goes, hey Sam, if Mikey stays with you, will you take him back to the base in the morning? He's like, absolutely. So she comes back, sweet, go to my supervisor. We're like, we have rides. So he's like, have fun, be careful, be safe. We go back to the club, we have a great time, and sure enough, I end up getting into his car. We go home with him. She goes home with the pilot, and yeah, it was on. It was one of those things like he opened the door to his apartment. I go in, close the door, and it was on. Like we were taking off our clothes as we're going to the bedroom, and then yeah, it just it was nasty in the best way possible. And yeah, he still smelled like cold cuts. I still smelled it, and I honestly think that had something to do with it. I think it was the cold cut smell. Again, I love me a sub, so it just like, yeah, it was an amazing night. And sure enough, the next morning he drove me back, and it was like maybe 45 to an hour of a drive. But yeah, he took me back in the morning, and sweet guy. You know, it was one of those things that until my situation changed, whenever I went to Reno, it's like if I saw him at the bar, and I did a few times after that, yeah, we would hook up. It would be the same kind of thing. And so yeah, that was my entanglements with Gabe Butcher. Yeah, he was like just this weird mix of a dude, which it's a lesson. Actually, if there is a lesson to have in this, is not to judge anyone, because had I just went off of how he was dressed, I would have thought one thing, or that he was a butcher, I would have thought another, or that he was a ballroom dancer, I would have thought another. You know, there's so many things about him that it was like, or that he would be that risque to do, that passionate to do something with me in a bathroom. You know, like so many things I could think of, to where it's like, if that was just the only information that I knew, I would have judged him on that. And he was this complicated dude that I had a great time. And who knows, had we been in the same city, would possibly something else would have happened, but that wasn't the case. Either way, I had a blast with the Butcher, with Sam. Like, yeah, fun time. So that's my story. Again, maybe a lesson, maybe a little bit of one, but either way, I enjoyed telling it. So a like would be great, a subscribe would be even better, but most importantly, comment and let me know, like, have you ever hooked up with someone? Like, answer that question for me. I slept with a fill in the blanks.